Removing returns from a single line field is probably one of the most common cleanup jobs I do. It's the bane of my existence as a FileMaker developer. I don't want to go and clean these things up. It's repetitive manual labor basically. What I prefer to do is prevent the returns from ever going into the field. And there's a couple ways I'm going to show you how to do this. So with the script trigger, I can come in here, click into the field, and try to hit a return. It's going to go, hey, you can't put returns into a text field. And then it doesn't put the return in. Or I have an AutoEnter here, which lets you put the return in, but as soon as you exit out of the field, takes that return out because it knows there shouldn't be a return here. Those returns will mess up all kinds of reports and labels and anything you're trying to do. You don't want them in there. Now you may be wondering, why do people hit the return key? Well, they're used to Excel. A lot of people come from Excel into the FileMaker world, and they're used to hitting the return to go to the next. And there's actually options in FileMaker. If you go into Layout Setup, you can actually change the way that these fields work. And let's see if I remember where they are. Where is the stuff? You know what? They switched it out of Layout Setup, I think, or maybe it was never there. I think it's over in here. Yeah, here you go. Go to Next Object using Tab, Return, and Enter. So Return and Enter, I prefer not to turn those on. Some people like to do it because then it deals with this problem in a way that you don't have to. But then it prevents them from putting returns into a field if they really need to. And then they can't use Enter to commit a record. I prefer to just keep it as Tab and fix it a different way, but I want to make sure you have all the tools at your disposal. So you could go into your inspector and change the way that this layout works. And whether it uses a Tab or Return or Enter or all three of them to go to the next field, it's up to you. So let's go back into Browse mode. And let's take a look at the script trigger. You'll see it runs this script. Says if get trigger keystroke, the code of that, because remember, a return, you can't put a return value into a formula, at least not with the get trigger keystroke. You can't put a Pilcrow character there. You have to convert it to a code and then test it. If you see a return there, say, hey, there are no carriage returns, and eat. And we've done this quite a bit. We're going to eat that keyboard command, that return, so it never gets in there in the first place. So that's pretty cool stuff. If I try to hit a return, no matter what, it's going to give me that message. Otherwise, I can type anything I want, just no return. Versus using the AutoEnter. Let's take a look at it. It simply, again, removes returns as soon as I exit out of the field. Doesn't teach the user, which is one of the benefits of the script trigger. It can teach them. Let's take a look at this formula. This is the one I actually most commonly use. So it's an AutoEnter calculation. And it just says substitute on itself. You can put the field reference here, but I like to be able to copy and paste it from field to field to field. So I say substitute on itself, whatever field you're working on here, which would be in this case name last. Take all the returns and make them nothing. Put quote in there. And then very importantly, uncheck this option, which will be checked. You need to uncheck it so that it continually updates as you type. So if you type a couple more returns and then commit that field, you exit that field, if you don't have this unchecked, then it's not going to take the returns out. You need to have it unchecked so it does it. Otherwise, the only time this will actually auto-enter is when the field's empty, and that's not going to help you very much. So you do need to uncheck that so it works properly. So the great thing about the auto-enter feature is it's schema level, meaning that no matter where that field is now, if it's on layout 1, layout 10, layout 16, no matter where it is, no matter what version of FileMaker, what platform you're using, it's in managed database at schema level, so therefore it's going to take that return out. But like I said, with the layout-based script trigger, you have that advantage of being able to teach them something and say, hey, don't do that. But no matter whatever layout you put it on, you have to remember to attach that script trigger. You have to attach it to every field you want to do that with. Not that you don't have to with the AutoEnter, you have to go and put the calculation, but I can copy and paste much faster than attaching a script trigger. And you could certainly duplicate the field and change it and get that script trigger on there that way. But then again, it's a layout level. So no matter where that field appears, you got to remember to put it on there. So I think in this case, in most situations, the auto enter is going to be a better decision for you than the script trigger, unless you want to teach them something. And it might not just be a message. Maybe it'll do something else. Who knows what? It all depends on what your unique scenario is like. And if you have to clean up after the fact, you've got a database and there's 100,000 records and there's a bunch of returns, well, then you're going to use the auto enter formula I just covered and use a replace field contents, which is right there. I have to click in there and do it. And use a replace field contents, and you go into the calculator result, put that formula there, and it'll work great and fix all of that data entry that's been going on for years and correct it.